So we're live here. We've got about 15 minutes, guys, until the trading event starts. We've got the euro pound we're going to have a look at, and I'm just going to pop a link into the chat so you can have a look at what we're looking at today. Just bear with me a moment, just setting up. So just popped a link in the description. There is a video, a couple of screenshots on what I'll be looking for the euro pound, because the tool that I'm referring to in these pictures basically gives us deep insights into what to expect based on previous events and in relation to the data that actually comes out. So if you do want the tool, there is a link to go and get it. I'll pop that in the description as well, just so you've got it there. I'll pop it into the chat, I should say. So you can go and get that tool by the short URL, and the screenshots that I've kind of set up for the information I'm looking for is all there as well. And I'm just going to basically commentate. I'm not actually going to trade this event, but I'm just going to talk about what I'm expecting based on the data. Because as you know, this isn't an advice channel. It is all about educating each other and educating new traders and helping them understand what's going on when news announcements like this happen, when the markets open each day. Particularly on the CAM levels for the index markets is my focus, and just going to basically run through what I'm expecting. So we've got the euro pound Germany inflation, and we've got the euro pound employment change screenshots in that link that I've provided in the chat. If you scroll down and have a look at the images, and we can see that for the most part, we expect these instruments to go up over 4 hours and even the 5 minutes. So we're expecting a rise in the price, and we can kind of see over to the bottom of these images, if you check out the link, the general price action that happens after the event for the next 4 hours. I just want to watch the open just to see what actually goes on. And we've got about 15 minutes, 10 minutes before that actually happens now. So 10 minutes to go, and what we're looking at as well, I'll just open that up. Just going to get rid of this, we don't really need that. Make these charts look a little bit better. So this is my one of my prop firms charts, and I have just got some algorithms running on it at the moment, so I'm not really trading it manually anyway, I should say. Change it to red. That'll look a bit nicer. I'm pretty happy with that. So we should start to see some volatility start coming in. And I think I said we're expecting it to go long based on the information. The last event though, it went short quite heavily. So we'll watch the price action and we're looking for longs, but we're going to try and avoid a short movement if it does spike down quite quickly. So having these insights really helps to understand what might happen based on previous events. And particularly if the inflation is low, we'll expect it to continue up. But if we get a big rise, we might see some issues or some selling coming in on this market. But if the employment change figure is about the same, we're just going to probably try and look to avoid the bearish movement that kind of kicks off within that first 5 minutes. So if you've got your economic setups over there, find that short URL in the chat. Just want to be able to be set up and ready to do your own analysis in the future. We're looking at the Euro pound. See if we can pop the image up. So we get the Euro pound employment change. And I'll see if I can get the other image up as well. We've got about 7 minutes till the actual event occurs, so that's okay, we've got time. The Germany inflation. Just want to put them both out of the way a little bit so we can see what's going on. Just pop it over here. And we're just waiting for what's going to happen. So we've seen some buying coming in. This is just double check time frame. This is a 5 minute chart. We've seen some buying coming in this level here over the past sort of 7 or 8 hours. Just chuck it on an hourly. Now it's dropped right down. We've seen a lot of buying coming in perhaps in the anticipation that the market is going to go up on this news. We've broken outside of a channel, I guess. Not the best channel ever, but it looks like it has broken these sort of low points and pushed down before being bought right back up. It's quite a big move back here. It's just come right up, and then the buying over today has been really building, hitting these highs now, sort of forming a bit of a double top type situation, but then we've got all this price action back here. So what we might expect is that we'll bounce off this kind of double top position to go lower if we do see that that change where it sort of just goes down and bouncing off this price action here, or we're actually going to break back up into the area where people seem to be happier trading. You really didn't want to trade down below these areas. It's pushed up, and in anticipation of today, the news events coming up on the Euro Pound in particular, it has been quite positive. So we just want to see, I guess, a break above this level and using that price action to really bring us in. I'm just going to check some of the other time frames to see if we can get some better information. There's nothing really jumping out at me, so I'm just going to stick to the 5 minute for the moment. This is the Euro Pound once again. We've got about 4 minutes until the Euro Pound actually sets up. And what we can do is open up that tool for the economic news and get the update quite quickly so that we know what's actually going on. Just a quick rundown, the forecast is around 2.5% for the German inflation, whereas before it was 2.9%. And obviously we'll find out what the actual is. If it is the same as the forecast, that's good. If it's higher than the forecast, I might expect the market to drop a little bit. But if it's 2.5 or lower, I would say we're going to rally on that data. Now the employment change we've got previous was 72k, whereas the forecast is 10k. Anything above that is probably going to, what are we going to see? Probably a rally. It just depends on what the forecast expectation really is. If it's a high figure, I think it'll be quite positive, but if it's a low figure, we might see a bit of a drop. Now, the other thing with the economic calendar tool is you can actually change the Forex pair that you're looking at. So in the situation where you've got the Euro Pound, they're in the same sort of an economic environment compared to, say, the Pound Yen, which might seem quite a bit different. It might react quite more heavily on certain news compared to, say, the Euro Pound, which is maybe not battling it out as different figures are arising. So the the Pound Yen, for example, may have a very different response to news because the pound is being more affected by the news, while the Japanese yen perhaps isn't being affected as much, and you might get a bit more of a differential in the moving prices. So it's always good to sort of have a look at the other currency pairs depending on what news announcement you're looking at, and just jump around and see what you expect. We've got 1 minute for the news to kick in here. So the spread is widening. Notice how the difference between the bid and the ask, that red and grey line, is getting wider. The brokers are basically, or the liquidity is getting a bit harder to remain tight, and perhaps the broker is protecting themselves a little bit on this one from sharp movements and that kind of thing. So it's more expensive to actually get into the market because of that spread right now. So the bid and ask, you're getting in at the opposite side. We're seeing a dip. If we see a good strong dip and then perhaps a rise, a bit of price action coming up, it could be a really bullish sign. So we're just waiting that out, see what the data actually presents. it still hasn't come through on my side, and that spread is still quite large. It's not really something that I want to get involved in just yet. So actual meets the forecast at 2.5% for German inflation. And it's just sort of hovering around for now, so it's probably going to be, I would expect it, yeah, it's starting to rally. But the spread is a good size, you know, it's a very, very hearty spread. So there's a bit more risk in getting in and out quite quickly with that sort of a spread, but it's making the move. So perhaps over the next 5 minutes, maybe over to the 4 hours, we'll hopefully see a nice rally upwards. And we're just going to see what that employment change. So the unemployment rate is 3.9% versus a forecasted rate of 3.8% for the UK. So that's slightly worse than what was expected. We'll just see the impact on the market there as well. So it's the euro versus the pound. And it's just powering up, which is nice. It's kind of what we expected. We saw a little dip down and then it pushed higher. So it's just a matter of how far this is likely to go. Now, if you can zoom in and see on the news charts, you can kind of get a feel for the average pips of movement or the range of movement that you see. And we're seeing a bit of retracing here. I would start to get a bit nervous. The spread is tightening a little. May have a bit more steam, but if you've kind of made a nice profit, this is kind of the area where I would probably get scared and jump out and wait for the next opportunity. But for those who have a bit more heart and confidence, there's always that chance you can keep getting more out of it. But for me, it's kind of what we expected. Even though that spread was wider because of that news announcement, we would have got past it for quite some period of time, and now it's starting to stall a little. It's not to say that it won't keep going up, but we do have the London Open coming up in the next hour. So the opening bell for the stock market and the stock index markets. And I think that's not a bad move at all. It was only around 5 pips, I guess, if you kind of factor in the spread that you would have taken. So perhaps it's worth just hanging in there a bit longer. But I guess I just wanted to run this live video to display how you can build a bit of a data analysis based on previous history using these news announcements. And this isn't the best example because you can see how the data isn't all cohesive to each other. You've got one going down while the others were kind of staying kind of steady. As you can see, I don't know if the mouse is showing up here, but you've got the red and you've got the green here. So it's a bit of inverse relationship, which sometimes you look at the data and it's just all green bars, and then perhaps on the 5 minute you might see all red. So you'll drop for say 5 or 10 pips in the first 5 minutes, you wait it out, you know what to expect, and then in the 4 hours following that, you generally expect the market to rally. So you get a sharp push in one direction and then it goes the opposite direction following that period of time. So that's why this news tool is very helpful. It can really guide you on what to expect based on the previous data. And we were expecting it to go up after we saw a little push down and break that sort of a high, which we have done. I'll just check the time frames. It's not a big move, but this was the other high that we were kind of trying to get above and break out of. It was only 6 points, very, very small trade, but for a quick in and out, with data backing you up, it's not the worst situation in the world. So that's it from me, guys. Anyway, I just wanted to experience, and we can see it's retracing now. I just wanted to experience what was going on based on the news, the insights that we have, and then see it play out in real time and see the reaction of the market. So we'll see a little pullback in the first 5 minutes or so, and then it gives us an opportunity to take it the other direction, because we can see that most of the other items were bullish compared to bearish. As mentioned previously though, with other announcements, particularly where you've got one country or one area that has news and the other one doesn't, it can potentially have more of an impact than what you've got your euro and your pound. They're very close quarters in terms of geolocation, whereas let's say you've got the euro versus say the yen or the US dollar. They're very different geopolitical areas, and those currencies are affected by different things compared to the euro pound, which are kind of affected by similar things. They're a little bit more closely related. So when you've got one currency pair that's unaffected, another currency pair that is heavily affected, you're probably going to see more motion and perhaps more opportunity. And when you see in the insights a lot more green bars or red bars, they're all the same. Whereas this, this is a bit sort of up and down. It's not as easy to read as some of the insights that I've seen. When you've got all green bars and they're quite strong, then it gives you a really good indication of what you're likely to expect for that news event. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just thought I'd jump on and share that with you, and good luck with your trading on the DAX and the FTSE later on.